Boy, oh boy, we got some interesting stuff to get into in this video, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We have apparently fencing going up in DC. Some more fencing. This is kind of bizarre because they already have fencing, and we'll get into that in a second. We also have this movie, apparently, that relates to Charlie Kirk and his death. This movie from Nicolas Cage called Snake Eyes. You ain't gonna believe how many things are very similar in wording, the events, the timing, everything. It's way too coincidental. We'll get into that one as well. Well, it looks like some good news has come across our desk, my friends. We have apparently, finally, someone being indicted. We're talking about James Comey. It just came out through MSNBC a little bit earlier, a few hours ago. Check this out.
Three sources familiar tell MSNBC former FBI Director James Comey is expected to be indicted in the coming days. The full extent of the charges being prepared against Comey is unclear. Joining us now, MSNBC.
So, of course, I saw something rather curious going on in D.C., and they were trying to just tell us, they were trying to sort of, no, it has nothing to do with the White House. Of course, what we're talking about, anti-scale fencing has arrived at Washington, D.C. yesterday. And, of course, they're just saying, well, no, it has nothing to do with that. But actually, it looks like it may have partially something to do with it. They were saying it actually had to do with a meeting of Bibi coming back in the upcoming days. But actually, maybe it has more to do with this, because I feel like we're starting to enter into what I had already mentioned before on this channel. I talked about a prediction from the guy who predicted our current president. He predicted a number of things correctly. He predicted Kennedy would join our president. Back in 2009, he predicted this. He also predicted that many will fall in the fall, referring to a lot of those at the top. And I surmised that it was this year based on a number of things that I've talked about before, because he had a lot of things come true that seemed to relate to this year. Now it looks like it's starting to play out because it just became fall day before yesterday. On the 22nd, my brother's birthday, by the way, September 22nd, it became the fall. And so, is this the first domino to fall? I can't even get on the screen. There we go. Is this the first domino to fall that will cause all the other ones to fall as well? I'm starting to think that is indeed the case. Also, our president just hired on a new prosecutor because he didn't like what Pam Bondi was doing. I had it around here somewhere. Here it is. Hired one of his, apparently one of his former attorneys, Lindsay Halligan. And, of course, ironically, she was in a beauty pageant back in 2010. Right here for Miss Colorado, and here's Erica Kirk in the same beauty pageant. At any rate, no coincidences, I guess. Let's just get into this. We'll start here with the fencing. What's going on with this? This is so strange. We already have fences around the White House, yet they're putting up more. Are they really expecting something big when he arrives? Are they going to announce something? Are they going to... Why are they doing this? You also had, like, what was it, a day ago, the Prime Minister from France here in America, meeting with our president. Apparently, his motorcade had to stop because they weren't allowed to get near the White House, and he had to walk there. Now, a lot of people are thinking that it was just our president owning him, but actually maybe it had something to do with some of this weird security they're now implementing. Are they going to do something? And I've talked about this prediction that many will fall in the fall. We have now our president putting his former defense lawyer as the prosecutor for Comey. And this is because Pam Bondi was not doing her job right. I called that. I'm really not liking how some of these channels that are pro our president are just simply ignoring these big issues like Cash not doing his job right, Pam not doing her job right, just ignoring these things. We need to call it out. We need to call it out. Even our president sees it. He's calling it out more than Benny Johnson is. That's what I'm talking about. Like, these guys need to start calling out stuff. I mean, goodness gracious, if our president calls it out, they don't need to be worried about, oh, am I going to lose subscribers because I said something was bad? You know what I mean? Like, come on. So our president just appointed this lady, Lindsay Halligan, one of his former attorneys, to lead key prosecutor office under Pam Bondi. I believe it is this lady. Is it this lady here? I think it is this lady here. Actually, I got another picture of her. Okay, Lindsay Halligan and Caroline. Yeah, okay, here we go. Yeah, I was right. Yeah, so this is Caroline and this is Lindsay here. So Lindsay is the new attorney. She looks a little different in that picture than the other picture I saw. Of course, another little interesting tidbit is this is Lindsay also at a Miss Colorado pageant. This is Erica Kirk. Very weird coincidence that they were both competitors for Miss Colorado back in 2010. So bizarre. Of course, actually, I think Lindsay beat Erica. I think she got third or fourth, and she got fourth or something like that. I can't remember how that worked, but something like that. At any rate, they didn't win, of course. But are we going to finally see some dominoes? Is this going to be the first one? Comey and also Letitia. That is who he specifically wants her to go after first. If one of those two falls, are we going to see all the other ones, all the other dominoes? Could this be the beginning of the entire thing? I hope so. I think so. And so, like I said, we're going to get into a ton of stuff in this video. We got a lot to get into. Something I've seen at the memorial a lot of people missed that is actually pretty huge, and I think is even bigger deal. Well, I don't know if it's a bigger deal than Cash and Pam doing a terrible job, but it's actually, it probably is. It's bigger than that. And then we also have this weird movie that specifically sounds like it's talking about Charlie Kirk. We'll get into that as well. First of all, I got to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 4 months worth, 3 plus an extra month, $6.97. You're going to definitely want to get that if you have not already. There's also other options available. Go check the links in the description. This book here, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity. If one of these guys falls, if it leads to more falling, do you think they're going to just go quietly into the night? Oh, shucks, you got us. Or do you think they're going to do some crazy stuff? Is that why our president was taking over these cities? I think so. Okay? It looks like he's going to end the Fed. He's doing a lot of interesting stuff. I feel like someone's kind of trying to anchor him back from really doing what he wants to do. But I think he's got some cards in his hands. I think our president's got some cards in his hands. Someone's trying to stop him. At any rate, so of course, the fact is, if they do end up getting arrested, because I feel like he's going this route because this is the best route for him. And he's trying to get Comey first, and then I think a lot of other ones are going to go after that. When this happens, you're going to be doing some stuff, man. You're going to see some crazy stuff start happening in cities. It's going to be like that mostly peaceful stuff we used to see back 5 years ago. Probably the same stuff. You definitely want to get this book. Get the printed version, $37. Never know. You're going to want that food as well. Go check out all my other social media as well. I'm on X. I'm actually getting somewhere a little bit over there now. We have so many things to get into. You have, of course, also this whole thing with Jimmy Kimmel. Let me just talk about that really quick, and we'll get into that movie. All right, so obviously Jimmy Kimmel is misframing what happened to him, trying to act like he's a victim. And it's becoming more and more obvious, particularly with leftist accounts on especially X, is they'll misframe or misquote or change the story and then try to make themselves look like a victim or try to make it look like they're right. It's really ridiculous because, I mean, all you got to do is look into it for a second and you see that it's not true what they're saying. In this case, he basically doubled down, insulting all those mourning Charlie Kirk because they can't take a joke. So he is just misframing it. So what he did here, let me just play this. You'll see what I'm getting at.
President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke. He was somehow...
It was not about our president, dude. You talked, and it wasn't a joke either. You said something about Charlie Kirk that was factually inaccurate. It wasn't a joke. It was just straight up BS, what you said. And of course, then he also does sort of a weird apology where he starts crying, but he doesn't really fully apologize. He just says he values life type of thing. So that's Jimmy Kimmel's way of somehow redeeming himself, which he didn't do, actually. The fact is, he called out Roseanne Barr and said she deserved to be canceled, and it wasn't about free speech. Just like him, he was canceled and it wasn't about that either. He also did that with the Tuckmeister. You got Joe Rogan here talking about it. Check this out.
Kimmel has this sort of go fuck yourself style. Look, it's kind of ironically, he celebrated in his monologue when Tucker Carlson got fired. It's kind of a problem. Yeah. And it's also kind of a problem that he, in his monologue, talked about how it was the right thing to fire Roseanne.
Yeah, he did both, actually. He might have done it more than twice even. I don't know. He did it at least twice, right? So you have him trying to, stick with this whole way of not really apologizing, but apologizing also, changing the story of what actually happened. It's really disgusting. And actually, interestingly, and we were right about this. You remember back years ago, let's say a few years ago, a couple of years ago, under the former administration, a number of accounts got, of course, deleted from various social media. Now we have Google apparently admitting that's what was actually happening, that it was the former administration forcing them to stop or stifle, actually looks like just straight up delete, certain accounts that they didn't like over their opinions. And now, because of it, Google is at least the first one of all these companies that's saying, hey, look, we're going to bring them back. We're going to bring them back on a number of accounts that we were forced or pressured to, of course, cancel. They're bringing them back. I've actually seen one already. It was one I hadn't seen in a long time, like 5 years. High Impact Vlogs. He came back almost 5 years. It was a while. But so you have that, and I think they're the only ones so far that said it. Then we got this movie. So you got this movie, which is really strange. Nicolas Cage. The movie's called Snake Eyes. A politician named Charles Kirkland is shot in the neck in the movie, and I couldn't confirm that it was on this date, but it was in this range. It was anywhere from, I would say, September 8th to September 24th. Based on the timing of what the movie kind of indicates, it was in that range. Because it says it was at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, which would literally be around that time. I couldn't find the exact date, though. Maybe there was something that says in the movie where it says the 10th. I don't know. But so this politician in this movie called Snake Eyes from 1998, he goes to a boxing event, boxing match. Guess who's boxing in the match? A guy named Tyler. A guy named Tyler boxing in the match. Oh, that's kind of weird. Oh, yeah, that's right. The shooter was Tyler. So Charles Kirkland, name is very similar to Charlie Kirk. The heavyweight boxing match, the boxer who takes the fall during the film is named Lincoln Tyler. And, of course, he's also called, his nickname as a boxer was the Executioner. In the movie, he was called the Atlantic City Executioner. And, of course, also, the date, it was most likely somewhere in September. We're not quite sure. I tried to use AI to figure it out. But it is interesting with regards to AI as well. Because the first time I asked ChatGPT if this fictional character in this movie, Snake Eyes, was shot in the neck, it said no. No, it didn't happen. And then shortly, like 20 minutes later, I asked it again and it said yes. So it's like in real time, it changed its mind. ChatGPT did. It was really bizarre. And of course, a lot of people that were talking about the movie said it was in his neck, in his throat, and it was from behind. Again, we've been talking about where was this guy really located? Was he in front of him? We're talking about Charlie Kirk. Or was he to the side or behind? And I think actually this was the exit. I really believe so. So I think it was from behind. And so it actually relates to the movie even more so in that respect. And what else do we have here? I asked it to look into the screenplay. Multiple reliable sources, including reviews and plot summaries of the movie Snake Eyes, do say that Charles Kirkland was shot in the neck or throat. And it was fatal, of course, in the movie. He was a political secretary of defense in the movie. Is there any reference to a date or time? There is no... okay, I could not find a reliable, credible source, a specific date, time, month, or season. I saw another... I don't know if it was in this search or not. I saw it was in the fall. Yeah, here we go. Late summer, early fall. That's literally this time frame. The fall starts at September 22nd. Late summer would be basically September 8 onward. Right? So this is straight up in the exact time frame of the movie's indication. So everything aligns pretty crazy. You also have another thing. I think I've shown you a lot of these things, but there's also this website Jezebel that paid some witches. And then, of course, that article came out 2 days before his death. And apparently his wife, Erica, was praying for him the night before with one of her friends over this whole entire thing. This was on September 8th. You have Megyn Kelly talking about it here, how they actually were praying against this. It's kind of interesting. But, so you got those two stories. At any rate, so you got all that. I wanted to get into some other stuff as well. I got this. This was interesting. This is something I covered on my other channel, God Rules 2. Maybe some of you hadn't seen it. But this was seen at the memorial. An advertisement for Palantir, which I think this company is not good for our country. This guy that behind it is Peter Thiel. Ironically, around the same time that this happened, James Cameron came out. This is from IGN, the gaming account. After he finished making all his Avatar movies, James Cameron is looking back to the Terminator franchise, but is struggling to get started on the story because, quote, I don't know what to say that won't be overtaken by real events. Oh my God. Because apparently you can notice this AI is being, it looks like it's going that direction because Palantir, what does Palantir do? Let me show you. Does Palantir use AI for its systems? Also, what is the synopsis of what Palantir is offering to the government and corporate entities? Yes, Palantir very much uses AI machine learning in its systems. It offers a suite of products and services to both GOV and commercial corporate entities. Below is an overview of how it uses AI. AI-enabled systems for defense. Oh, that sounds familiar. Where have we seen that? Oh, a movie Terminator had that. Yeah, so Palantir's literally similar in a sense to Skynet and Terminator. No joke. That's literally what it is. Okay, they also are using some of that's not all they offer. They offer other things as well, where they take all the data of a certain person and tie it all together very quickly. This is what's being used with some of this migrant, of course, deportations. And yeah, it sounds well and good when it's not someone from America, but we have seen a little bit of a concern where if you're an American already, they're already kind of skirting the line for, can we get rid of them anyways? That whole thing with the Online Safety Act. So what I'm looking at, so, okay, let me just back this up, show you the whole big picture. Palantir, controlled by Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel was recently seen at a Bilderberg meeting 3 months ago. He had gotten money from that guy with an island. I think you know who I'm talking about, Jeffrey. Not a good sign already. Okay, so this dude is over Palantir. Palantir's making a AI system for defense. Kind of sounds like James Cameron's movie, The Terminator, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, kind of does, actually. Then you have, on top of that, a number of AI researchers, co-founders coming out and making weird statements, websites. You have here OpenAI co-founder wanted to build a doomsday bunker to protect company scientists from, quote unquote, the rapture. It's like, what? Of course, I guess they don't have to really worry too much because apparently the rapture was supposed to be yesterday and it didn't happen because everybody's talking about that online. So they apparently were wrong. And by the way, every single year on September 23rd, like almost every year, it goes viral. Oh, there's a rapture. I remember literally 12 years ago talking about this. They were saying September 23rd was going to be the rapture. 12 years ago. They've been doing it every single year, every year. Just keep that in mind next time you see it. September 23rd next year. Oh, rapture. You know it's not true. Most likely, okay? Because no one knows the day of the hour for anyways. But it's just funny because these guys are scientists, allegedly, working on AI, and they're like building a doomsday bunker to protect company scientists from the rapture. So, I mean, it sounds really funny, but like, actually, they're serious. Okay, they're serious. And that's not the only one. Okay, this guy was covering the rapture. This guy, Nick Jones, pretty funny. But you had numerous AI developers come out talking about how they're, in the next 2 years, it's going to be crazy town with this AI. You literally be like this movie. You got this guy who worked on OpenAI here, made this website AI 2027, like basically telling you kind of what will happen, and actually talks about pretty much like what you saw in James Cameron's movie by the time you get to September 2027. Superhuman AI researcher, and then the GOV uses it to control our weapons. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. And then you got people like Sam Altman, which, by the way, there's some interesting stuff about this guy as well that a lot of people are now learning. Sam Altman will just come out and tell you. He's like, hey, yeah, man, I'm making money off the end of the world. You know, Sam Altman warns AI could kill us all, but still wants to do it anyways. Oh, let's just make it anyways. Of course, then there's this clip of him on the Tuckmeister's channel. I had it open. Do I got that? That was a pretty crazy clip, actually. I don't know if you've seen that or not, where he talks about a former employee, Sam Altman, Altman, spell it right. I can't spell for some reason. Tuckmeister. Let's see if we got it here. He interviewed him. Yeah, here it is. Oh, God.
I had complaints from one programmer who said you guys are basically stealing people's stuff and not paying them, and then he wound up murdered. What was that?
Okay, let me play this. Let me get it right here. Let's back it up. And I'm going to kind of comment on this too. Okay, let's just get it on here. There we go.
So you had complaints from one programmer who said you guys are basically stealing people's stuff and not paying them, and then he wound up murdered. What was that?
Also a great tragedy.
Of course, he says he offed, himself. It's so weird what he says up here. Where was it?
He was murdered. Have you talked to the authorities about it?
I have not talked to the authorities about it.
And his mother claims he was murdered on your orders.
Do you believe that?
I'm asking.
I mean, you just said it. So do you believe that?
I think that it
like, bro, seriously, this is the weirdest conversation ever.
Is worth looking into. And if a guy comes out and accuses your company of committing crimes, I have no idea if that's true or not.
Oh my goodness, dude.
And then is found killed and there are signs of a struggle, I don't think it's worth dismissing it. I don't think we should say, well, he killed himself when there's no...
What's so crazy, it goes on, and of course, Sam Altman's like, well, no, actually, he killed, of course, himself. And then Tucker's, well, why would his cameras get cut? Why did he just order food? Why did he just come back from an awesome vacation? And then, it doesn't even make any sense. It's just the mannerisms of the two people. Tucker is always trying to look like he's like, oh, no, I'm not trying to say anything. And then Altman's just like really, really serious demeanor and just like trying not to show emotion. but you can tell they're both playing cat and mouse in the conversation. It's really kind of an interesting dynamic watching these two speak together.
No evidence that the guy was depressed at all. I think, and if he was your friend, I would think you would want to speak to his mom or...
I did offer. She didn't want to.
So...
It's so weird.
Do you feel that, when people look at that and they're like, it's possible that happened, do you feel that that reflects the worries they have about what's happening here? Like people are afraid that...
Yeah, like what the hell's going on with this AI, man? It wants to take all of our jobs. You're using it for defense systems. Oh, let's just give it over to the whole thing over there. I mean, come on, man. I feel like I'm in the movie... like a mix of all these movies. You got Idiocracy, you got Terminator, you got just add them all together, and that's pretty much what we live in. Anyway, that's my video. I'm kind of wondering what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.